Hello, Internet. It is I, Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today, we are going to be talking about Don't Breathe 2. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros. Obviously, this is a sequel to Don't Breathe, a horror movie that came out in 2016, which feels like several lifetimes ago. Anywho. Yeah, the first movie came out in late August of that year. Usually, late August is a dumping ground for movies, usually bad ones. But Don't Breathe was different. Not only was it incredibly well received, considered to be one of the best horror movies of that year, and personally, it was one of my favorite movies of that year, it was also quite successful, especially by late August standards. It opened to like 26 million, had very strong legs for a horror movie, made 89 million domestic, 158 million worldwide. Huge success on a budget of just $10 million. So naturally, the studio had to make a sequel. I'm just kind of shocked it took this long. It's been almost 5 years. So, yeah, like, why the long wait? I don't know. But most important thing is here. Anywho, so yeah, obvious pro had a highly successful predecessor, both critically and commercially. So that's easy pro right there. Uh, Another pro. Well, when it comes to, it hasn't been a real horror movie in the marketplace, unless you, well, The Green Knight's more fantasy than horror. There hasn't been a real horror movie in the marketplace since Escape Room 2. That was mid July. So when it comes to direct competition, this movie has nothing to worry about. At least not until next week and the week after that, when you have like the Night House and Candyman. Those might cause some problems. But right now, when it comes to direct competition, this movie has nothing. So that's an easy pro right there. Uh I think that's it when it comes to pros. I can't think of any other pros. All right. Cons. From what I've heard, this movie is not as good as the first, which upsets me. So, last I checked on Rotten Tomatoes, it's at 50%, which is not the worst. It's not gonna kill the movie, but it's not gonna, help it either. So it's just kind of there. It's just kind of mediocre, which is a shame because I really love the first one. Now, Grant, I haven't seen this movie yet. I'm planning on watching it this weekend. So maybe the critics are just BSing, but I don't know. But yeah, that 50% is not going to help this movie, so I would consider that a con. Another con, some people are kind of iffy about basically the whole plot of this movie. You know how in the original you have like the blind man who was the main antagonist, but in this movie, he's the protagonist. It's a similar situation with the Terminator movies, where in the first movie, the T-800 is the antagonist, but in the sequel, he's turned into pretty much the protagonist, the hero of the movie. It's just like that. But some people feel very off about the decision in this movie because the first one he did, I'm not going to say what the character did, but we almost did a thing that was really effed up to a high degree. So that might make his character, it's going to be hard to really like his character in the sequel. So yeah, I would consider that a con. Is that some people are very just iffy about the whole idea of how they're doing the sequel. So yeah, I would consider that a con. Another con when it comes to horror sequels this year, actually horror sequels in general, it can be very, very hit or miss, extremely hit or miss, especially this year. I mean, look at all the horror sequels we got this summer. Quiet Place 2. Well, actually, is Spiral a sequel? Spiral's more of a restart. Spiral's a weird movie. Let's ignore that. Quiet Place 2. Conjuring 3. Forever Purge, Escape Room 2. None of those movies matched their predecessors. Not even Quiet Place 2, although it did come the closest out of all of them. And, I noticed like their box office, it just progressively got worse. I mean, Quiet Place 2 made like over 150 million in the States. Conjuring 3, 65 million in the States. Forever Purge, like 43 in the States. And Escape Room 2, only like 23 in the States. And that's not a good trajectory. So yeah, horror's in a bit of a rut right now. And I don't think Don't Breathe 2 is going to fix that all that much. I mean, we do have other horror movies coming out this year, but I don't know. I don't think Don't Breathe 2 is gonna break this trend of horror movies doing worse than their predecessors. I just don't see it happening. So yeah, I would consider that a con. Uh, Another con, obviously, pandemic, especially this Delta variant. Now it might cause some problems. How big are these problems? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens to this movie and Free Guy and Respect and basically the whole box office to see if this Delta variant is having a true impact now, especially after what happened to the Suicide Squad. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But still, pandemic is not going to help this movie. So again, another con. Uh, I think that's it. All right. So opening weekend, first movie opened to 26 million. This movie is going to be lucky to reach half of that, judging by how other horror movie sequels have done this year and in general. So I'm going to be a little more optimistic than most. I'm going to predict it's going to make somewhere in between 10 million and 15 million, somewhere in that range, likely the lower end of that range. But that's what I feel comfortable with. So 10 to 15 million opening weekend, and then total, it's likely going to be more front loaded than the first because that's how sequels usually play out. I'm going to say 30 million, maybe 30, 35 million. You know what? Let's do more of a wide range, 25 to 35. I think that's reasonable enough for this movie. I can't imagine this movie super expensive. I really can't. So even if it does significantly worse than its predecessor, it's still going to make a profit by itself. So why even complain? So yeah, that's Don't Breathe 2. Now I have two more movies to talk about this weekend. The big movie being Free Guy, and also we get to talk about Respect. And then that'll be the end of this weekend. The next weekend, four movies: Night House, Paw Patrol, Protege, Reminiscence, and then one more movie for August when it forms a Candyman. And then that's it for August. So, yeah. Anywho, that is it. That is all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. Want to check out more videos like this? I got a playlist on the homepage of all previous movies that I've covered this year, from you know the top movies like Black Widow and F9 and Quiet Place 2, Godzilla vs Kong, Cruella, Jungle Cruise, which will likely reach the top. Well, not the whole top, but at least the top five relatively soon. I've covered all of those, and I've already covered all the horror movies I've listed before. Forever Purge, Escape Room 2, Conjuring 3. If you want to watch any of those, you can go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. Don't Breathe 2 was one of the few that, well, it actually got added on to the calendar and it just stayed put. So, yay. I didn't have to cover it a bajillion times. But I just made a canceled episode about Venom 2 getting pushed back a bit, and Hotel Transylvania 4 potentially getting pushed back again or going to Netflix. So if you want to watch that or any of the other canceled videos I made, that way you're up to date on all these movies. I've now made 73 episodes. You can go right ahead. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. Just did the July recap like last week. The August recap will come out till the beginning of September. So stay tuned for that. But if you want to watch any of my past recap videos, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.